Howdy, folks, and good morning. Thank you all so much for taking the time today. All right, attendee chat should now be on. Well, thank you all so much for joining me for what is now unequivocally and officially busy season. We are excited. We got a few great updates to share for y'all. And as always, we're excited to answer y'all's many questions. As per usual, we're going to go ahead and wait a couple of minutes here to let people pile on in, and then we'll dive in. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get things started. In case this is your first ever Catch Up with Keeper webinar, welcome and thank you for joining us. If any of you have any questions about Keeper or anything else over the course of the webinar, please ask them in the Q&A rather than in the chat. That will give us a better fighting chance of seeing them. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will dive into Keeper. All right, folks. So got a few really exciting new changes this week or this month. The first is not even announced yet, but you will all see it when you log into Keeper for the first time, which is a new upgrade to the overall UI of the client list. So this is our continued iteration towards building out some of the clunkiness that many of y'all have mentioned to us. So here we have just cleaned up some of the sharp lines and rough edges. The new preparer and reviewer, they open now as almost like cards that fold out over the cell, similar to if you were working in like an Airtable or a Notion page, more than just like what seemed like slapped together components. So really excited about this one, and a lot more good stuff to come over the coming weeks and months. The next couple of changes I want to talk about are with time tracking. The first is for any of you who use time tracker notifications. This is basically a way of making sure that your team is always tracking their time. And so I'm going to go ahead and I have that on now. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's on. And so what that means here is if you go into a client, it's going to prompt you to start your time. So this is nothing new. This has been in Keeper for quite a while now. But so basically, this will make sure your team is always tracking their time. And that way, if you switch to a different client file, the time tracker notifications are also going to prompt you to start switch your timer here as well, so you don't track time for working on the wrong client. A new change that we've made here is now when you leave all your clients, you go back to the client list, it's going to prompt you to stop your timer here as well. That way, we're trying to cut down on the folks who will close their tabs for the day and then not realize they've left a timer running, and so they come back and they have a 12-hour timer running that they have to turn off. That's the first improvement to time tracking. The second that I'm really excited about is just an easier way to get access to your timers. So in particular here, if you're on a close page and let's say you started a timer, but you started it 10 minutes late, you've actually been working, you just forgot to start your timer. So instead of going back to the time tracking page to edit your timer there, you can now access all of your timers just by clicking this little clock icon right here. So if it turns out that we've actually been working on this for an hour instead of 4 minutes, we can just make that change here, and that'll update that right here. Next little tweak to the close page here is on our sort of like top bar right here. You can now update and add the client details if you want to make them a little bit more accessible to your team here. So this is the same component as if you had gone to your client info and files, and then gone to your details. But now it's just a little bit more accessible, a little bit more visible. So to get there, you go to your practice settings, you go to your practice and statements, and then the close page settings here will give you the option to turn that on or off. All right. And then the last thing I have to talk about is actually not in Keeper, and that is our Chrome extension. So our Chrome extension will basically, right now, it brings a lot of the power of what you can do here within Keeper into the bank feed. And what we're also working on is bringing a whole lot more of all the other things that Keeper does as well into QuickBooks, so that you can continue to do more and more of your work and track your work in the same place as you actually do it. So what this looks like today, first is those that client info that you can see and edit on your close page. You can also see that here as well. So that way, if you see something in the bank feed, you think it's important, you want to sort of store that knowledge somewhere, you can just pop up in here and then leave a comment. And then if you save that, edit it, it'll be back here in whenever you want to pull it up again in QuickBooks. It'll also be back in Keeper as well. Second is if you are coding a transaction in the bank feed and you are not sure how to classify something, let's say you need a receipt every time your client spends money from Amazon, you just click Ask Client right here. You no longer need to code it to a suspense account, go back to the suspense account in Keeper and then ask about it. You can just do that all in one step right here. So you can just click, please upload a receipt for this transaction. And then we can actually just go ahead and code this to office supplies and then add the transaction. Now that we've done that, if we just go to our client portal, our clients will see they've got that Amazon transaction right here. So it cuts out that step of needing to go back into Keeper, asking the question. It's just all right here. All right. Well, folks, that's all we've got today. So super excited for some of the new changes we have to announce in the coming months. But really, if you haven't tried the Chrome extension, would encourage you to do so. You're going to expect to see a lot more of Keeper's functionality come into the Chrome extension over the coming weeks and months. If you would like to find that, you can go to our help center. It's at help@keeper.app and just search for Keeper Chrome extension. That'll take you to this page, which will also take you to the Chrome extension link right here as well. All right. Well, that's all I have for the product updates. We do not have an app showcase, so at this time, I will open it up to any Q&A. All right. So someone asked about what the previous update was that was before the Chrome extension. So that is the ability, if you're on the close page, to bring your details sort of more into the forefront. And so the way you do that is you go to your practice settings, close page here, and you click show client details. And so that'll just basically add another panel up at the top here so you can access your client details. Jonathan asked if we'll extend the Chrome extension to QuickBooks Desktop or to the desktop QBO app. That's an interesting thought. We have not looked into that. I'll have to see. I'll talk with our engineering team. I'm not sure if Chrome extensions can be either directly or maybe side loaded into Keeper, but or into a QBO app or the sort of QBO app. I'm not exactly sure how that architecture works. I'll look into it. I will get back to you. Okay, Deb asked a really important question. In the Chrome extension, do you have to classify and add the transaction before it gets added to the client portal? The answer is yes. So if you just click Ask Client here, and then just click add. It won't actually do anything. It doesn't trigger this and put it in the portal until you actually add it. So you still can't leave transactions in the bank feed. You do need to actually code them in still. You can code them still to a suspense account. But it is still important that you actually add that transaction. And Juan asked when can we expect the Keeper Chrome extension for Zero? And the answer is soon, very soon. I can't provide a concrete timeline, but I assure you it is something that we're working on. All right. Well, folks, it looks like that is. Oh, we got one more Q&A right here. Someone asked, is there any development in the works to incorporate email so that we can create tasks directly from our inbox? Yes, there actually is that functionality today, and we are continuing to work on improving it. So we'll pull that up here. So if you go to our Gmail integration, you can actually open a basically, if you're looking at an email, you can add that into Keeper, and then it'll create a task for that and post that directly into the client file that you're working on. Jonathan asked, is the same thing coming for Office 365 email? And the answer is yes. So we do have it just for Gmail today, but we're working on bringing this into Microsoft, the Microsoft ecosystem as well. Craig asked, are we working on enabling 2FA for the Chrome extension? Yes, this is definitely just a bug. A little bit of an oversight on our part. 2FA is right now, like the Chrome extension bugs out if you try to log in and you have 2FA enabled. So we're working on a fix for that. All right, Amanda asked, how far back can we add uncategorized transactions for clients to update? Is there a cutoff period? No, there's no cutoff period. So as far back as you code them, you can add them in. If you're working on it from within the bank feed, you just go in and add it from the bank feed, and that'll work just fine. If you're in Keeper, we only pull the last 12 months of transaction data per given close. So this June 22 close is going to pull July 21 to June 22. And so if you want to pull data further back than that, you just go to an older close, and that'll work just fine. Aaron asked, are there any plans to provide management reports for team metrics like on-time close completion and how long tasks stay in waiting on client? The answer is yes. It's actually something that we have talked about quite a lot with the engineering team as of recent. So more to share on that soon. Anonymous attendee asked for a timeline on the Microsoft ecosystem. I assume that means that refers to the Gmail add-in. We make a habit of not providing timelines and just providing software. So I will stick to that habit. So no timeline I can find on that at the time. Okay. All right. Well, that is about all the questions that we have here today, folks. So thank you all so much for taking the time. Super excited for your continued feedback that helps us continue to make Keeper better every single week. So thank you all so much for taking the time. And that about wraps up Keeper's update webinar. So I will see you all next week, next month at the end of April. As a reminder, these are the last Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. Central.